House Speaker John Boehner has named 7 Republicans to a select committee to investigate the Benghazi terror attack. But House Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi calls it a political stunt and is still considering whether her party will participate. The new chair of the select committee, Congressman and former prosecutor Trey Gowdy, joins us from South Carolina. And here in Washington, Congressman Xavier Becerra, head of the House Democratic Caucus. Congressman Gowdy, you have been talking this week about how you're going to run this committee, and one comment has raised some eyebrows. Here it is.
If an administration is slow-walking document production, I can't end a trial simply because the defense won't cooperate.
Congressman, do you see this investigation as a trial, and do you see the White House as the defense?
No, sir, and I would hasten to add, first of all, happy Mother's Day to you and Mr. Becerra, but I would also hasten to add that trials are both criminal and civil. For 16 years, I spoke in trial metaphors, and perhaps I need to get out of that habit. What I simply meant is, when you ask me how long something's going to last, I need to know how cooperative the other side is going to be. So to the extent that I sent any indication to anyone that I've used someone as the defense, what I meant by that is, if you can tell me how cooperative the other side is going to be, I can give you a better idea of how long something's going to last.
Congressman Becerra, you have been talking about the committee as a kangaroo court, your words. First of all, how do you know that before it even begins meeting, and do you really believe that all the questions about Benghazi have been answered?
Well, what leads us to believe it could be a kangaroo court or a smokescreen from having to deal with the real issues Americans want us to deal with, like job creation and so forth, is that we've done these investigations some 7 times. 5 of the investigations coming out of 5 of the House Republican committees. And so we've done this over 18 months. We've spent millions of dollars, and we've seen what happens when you have a show trial.
Well,
so we're trying to avoid that.
Let me ask you a question. Do you believe that all the questions about Benghazi have been answered?
I have not heard any new questions raised that have not been answered.
Well, let me ask you a question, and maybe you can answer it for me. Where was the president, and what did he do the night of the attack?
I believe the president was at the White House, and he was in communication with some of the folks in his administration in and around the time of the attacks.
Do you know, Congressman Gowdy, where the president was and what he was doing during the 7 hours of the attack?
No, sir, I do not, nor do I know what communication, if any, he had with Secretary of State Clinton, nor can I tell you why we were still in Benghazi, despite the fact that there was an escalation of violence in the months leading up, nor do I know whether or not the president called any of our allies in the region and said, can you get any assets to Benghazi? We're under attack. I have more questions than answers, despite the fact that committees of Congress have looked at this attack for 19 months now.
Congressman Becerra, can you answer the specific questions that you just heard from Congressman Gowdy?
Sure, and by the way, I also want to say Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. But Trey, you served on one of these committees that did this investigation. You're a great prosecutor. You should have asked those questions, or you could have asked those questions. I bet you did ask those questions. And so the issue, Chris, is, are we going over and over and go over, and now are we setting up a process that's not only going to be a fair, balanced, or open approach to this, but also is appearing to be a smokescreen so they can raise campaign funds? Because right now we know the Republicans are raising campaign funds off of this Benghazi investigation that they're calling for. And so it's very distressing.
We're going to get to the campaign funds in a moment, but what about this argument, Congressman Gowdy? You had the opportunity to ask those questions before.
Well, first of all, thank you, Mr. Becerra, for overstating my career as a prosecutor. Secondly, I don't have access to intel. I don't have access to sources and methods. I don't have access. I have never interviewed Susan Rice about anything. I have never had an opportunity to ask the Secretary of State questions about the lead up to Benghazi and why we were still there. One of the problems with the existing committee structure is they are stovepiped. They are fragmented. We can't cross jurisdictional boundaries, which is why I asked for a select committee over a year ago, so we can tear the barriers down and we can have access to all the information, and we're not stovepiped or fragmented according to which committee we're on.
All right, I have another question, and maybe the biggest question at this point is whether or not Democrats will participate in this process. Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi was making some demands this week. Let's put them up on the screen. Democrats must sign off on subpoenas. They must be allowed to participate in witness interviews, and Republicans must not selectively release testimony. Congressman Becerra, I have a simple question. Are you saying that if you get satisfactory answers to those, the Democrats will participate, and if you don't, that you won't?
We've participated in all the other 7 investigations. If it's a fair, open, and balanced process, absolutely. But we don't want to see reckless, irresponsible handling of an affair that took the lives of 4 brave Americans.
So wait, I just want to say, you're saying that if you are satisfied with the ground rules, you're declaring that the Democrats will appoint members to this committee?
I believe so. We've always said that we're ready to participate. We have an oversight responsibility in Congress. What we don't want to see is reckless and irresponsible use of Congress and taxpayer money to do these witch hunts.
Congressman Gowdy, is it unreasonable for Democrats to demand some say in how the committee is run?
No, sir. And if you talk to the ranking members of the 2 subcommittees that I have presided, Zoe Lofgren and Eleanor Holmes Norton, they will tell you I don't run my committees the way that the Democrats are fearful of. I want a process, Chris, that at the end of it, you are welcome to draw different conclusions from the facts. But I want everyone to say it was fair, it was exhaustive, and we know more than we did when it started. So on 2 of those 3 points, I think reasonable minds can agree. On the first point, though, Chris, imagine you and I starting an investigation, and the first thing you ask for is the ability to deny or veto subpoenas going to witnesses. How can it be a pursuit of the truth?
We've never asked for that, Trey. What we're simply saying is make it a process where we can't be excluded from the interview of witnesses, where we can't be excluded when a decision is made to subpoena a witness. Make it so that we're all in the room when we're reviewing the documents that are supposed to be evidence. What we don't want to be is excluded. We don't want the American public to be shut out. Fair,
Javier,
balanced, and open.
How does it benefit me?
Go ahead, Congressman.
How does it benefit me, Javier, when I have said from day one, I want this to transcend politics and I want it to inspire trust in you and our fellow citizens? How does it benefit me to do any of the things you just listed? I haven't done it for the first 3 years that I'm in Congress.
I'm going to declare victory here and say that the Democrats are going to participate this week.
Based on a fair, balanced, and open process.
I love the fact that you're adopting the Fox News slogan.
We'll call it the Fox standard, okay?
The
fair,
Fox
balanced,
standard?
and open.
You could do worse. This week, Hillary Clinton said Benghazi has been thoroughly investigated, but then she added this.
Some choose not to be satisfied and choose to continue to move forward. That's their choice, and I do not believe there is any reason for it to continue in this way, but they get to call the shots in the Congress.
Congressman Gowdy, what specifically do you want to learn from Secretary Clinton, and how do you answer charges that one of the major goals of this committee is to hurt Hillary Clinton's chances for 2016?
Chris, I have no friends to reward and no foes to punish. We're going to go wherever the facts take us. Facts are neither Republican nor Democrat. They are facts. And if we overplay our hand, or if we engage in a process that is not fair according to the American people, we will be punished, as we should be for that.
So tell me the single biggest question that you want to ask Secretary Clinton.
Why were we still in Benghazi? The British ambassador was almost assassinated. Our facility was attacked twice. There were multiple episodes of violence. We were the last flag flying in Benghazi, and I would like to know why.
The Pew Research Center did a poll recently, and I want to put its results up on the screen, because when asked what single thing they have the most negative view of in Hillary Clinton's career, people said Benghazi, even more than cited the Monica Lewinsky scandal. Congressman Becerra, people still have a lot of questions about Hillary Clinton's role.
Chris, so the year and a half that was spent by 7 different committees didn't answer that? Of course it did. Look,
wait. You keep pointing to that. We didn't find out, and they had subpoenaed all the State Department documents. Excuse me, sir. They had subpoenaed all the State Department documents, and it took until last week for the administration finally to release the Ben Rhodes email, in which 2 days before Susan Rice appeared on this show, he was suggesting that she say that it was because of the video, not because of a policy failure.
You've gone through this. You know that email shows nothing new. It simply
I don't agree with that. I think it shows something dramatically new. It shows that despite what the White House, despite what the White House has been saying for the last year and a half, it shows that inside the White House, they were telling Susan Rice what to say.
Chris, every time you get a witness or someone to come talk to you here, they're always going to try to prepare for that conversation with you.
It's not what Jay Carney had said for 20 months.
That email has nothing that's inconsistent with what the CIA and our security personnel were telling us at the time. It's exactly the same. But if I can make one quick point, I love what Trey just said. I hope Trey is going to stay true to what he just said. The rules, however, will determine if this is a fair process. Not what Trey says, it's whether the rules that for the conduct of a hearing will provide for a fair, open, and balanced process.
All right, you brought up an earlier point. I want to finish with that with Congressman Gowdy. You say this is not political, that this is just about fact-finding, but as Congressman Becerra brought up, just this week, the National Republican Congressional Committee, which is the committee that supports GOP House candidates, sent out this fundraiser. House Republicans will make sure that no one will get away from Gowdy and the Select Committee. And then, will you automatically add your name today to join us and become a Benghazi watchdog? This is a fundraiser coming out from the NRCC. Congressman Gowdy, isn't this exactly the problem, the danger, the risk that you overstep your bounds, the GOP, not you personally, you overreach and you make this political, and as Congressman Becerra mentioned, you end up like going on a political hunt instead of dealing with issues that people deal with their daily lives, like Obamacare and jobs.
Yes, which is exactly why I said I will never and have never sent out any fundraising literature trying to raise money in the grief and the tragedy of 4 dead Americans, and I have asked my colleagues to follow suit. But my friend and colleague Tommy Cotton from Arkansas did a magnificent job on the House floor of pointing out the duplicity and the hypocrisy of Democrats all of a sudden concluding that certain things are above politics. They raised money on Sandy Hook. They raised money on Katrina. They raised money on Iraq and Afghanistan. So for me, I will not raise money on Benghazi, just like I never raised money using crime victims when I was a prosecutor. And I've asked my colleagues to follow suit, but it would be helpful if our colleagues on the other side of the aisle did not have selective amnesia when it comes to what's appropriate to raise money off of and what is not.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. Congressman Gowdy, Congressman Becerra, thank you both so much. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
From Benghazi to the IRS, Republicans are pursuing administration scandals, but Democrats dismiss it as conspiracy week. Our Sunday group weighs in. Plus, what would you like to ask the